The raid on Lunenburg occurred during the American Revolution when the U.S. privateer, Captain Noah Stoddard of Fairhaven, Massachusetts, and 4 other privateer vessels attacked the British settlement at Lunenburg, Nova Scotia on 1 July 1782. Lunenburg was defended by militia leaders Colonel John Creighton and Major-de-Leib Christopher Jessan. In Nova Scotia, the assault on Lunenburg was the most spectacular raid of the war. On the morning of 1 July, Stoddard led approximately 170 U.S. privateers in 4 heavily armed vessels and overpowered Lunenburg's defense, capturing the blockhouses and burning the house adjacent. The privateers then looted the settlement and kept the militia at bay with the threat of destroying the entire town. The American privateers plundered the town and took 3 prisoners, including Creighton, who were later released from Boston without a ransom having been paid. Historical context. During the American Revolution, Nova Scotia was invaded regularly by American revolutionary forces by land and sea. Throughout the war, American privateers devastated the maritime economy by raiding many of the coastal communities. There were constant attacks by privateers, such as the numerous raids on Liverpool and on Annapolis Royal. There was also a naval engagement with a French fleet at Spanish River, Cape Breton Island. On 17 November 1775, Washington's Marblehead Regiment aboard the Hancock and Franklin made an unopposed landing at Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island. 3 days later, they expedited to Nova Scotia and raided Cancer. In 1779, American privateers returned to Cancer and destroyed the fisheries, which were worth 50,000 liras a year to Britain. The 84th Regiment had been defending Nova Scotia, attacking an American privateer ship off of Lunenburg, Nova Scotia. The 84th was led by Captain John MacDonald. They boarded the warship when some of its crew were ashore seeking plunder. They captured the crew and sailed her into Halifax. There were also Patriot attacks on Nova Scotia by land, such as the Battle of Fort Cumberland and the Siege of St. John. There was the constant threat that American patriots would attack Halifax by land. Stoddard's vessel the Scammell was commissioned in April 1782 and made the plan in Boston to raid Lunenburg. Soon after, he rescued the 60 American prisoners on board the HMS Blonde, which was wrecked on Seal Island, Nova Scotia. Stoddard allowed the British crew to return to Halifax in the HMS Observer. On June 30, the day before the raid on Lunenburg, Stoddard and others were involved in gathering intelligence at Chester, Nova Scotia for the raid on Lunenburg. During the early morning of 1 July 1782, 5 American privateers, who had left Boston under the command of Captain Noah Stoddard, began to raid Lunenburg. Captain Stoddard's ship was the schooner Scammell, which had 16 guns and 60 men. Stoddard organized both a land and sea assault of the town. The vessels first landed at Red Head, 2 miles outside of the town, and soldiers began to march toward the town. The vessels then moved toward a frontal assault on the town. The Lunenburg militia was led by Colonel John Creighton and Major D.C. Jessan. Colonel Creighton and 5 other militiamen occupied the eastern blockhouse and began firing at the approaching land assault. Several of Captain Stoddard's privateers were wounded. The landed fleet of privateers then rounded East Point. The vessels landed and quickly took control of the western blockhouse and established themselves at Blockhouse Hill. Captain Creighton and others in the blockhouse were cannonaded into silence and the blockhouse burned. Colonel Creighton surrendered and was taken prisoner along with 2 other men aboard Captain Stoddard's vessel Scammell. Resistance was also offered by Major D.C. Jessan. He was initially held up in his home, which the privateers fired full of bullets. He escaped and his house was looted. Major Jesson assembled with a militia behind the hill overlooking the town. A militia from La Have under the command of Major Joseph Panett also advanced toward Lunenburg to join Major Jesson. Captain Stoddard sent a message to Jensen and Panett that if they advanced on the town, all the homes would be burned. To ensure his threat was not idle, Captain Stoddard burned down Major Jesson's home. Captain Stoddard's privateers looted the town and destroyed what remained. The Reverend Johann Gottlob Schmeiser tried to intervene and was bound by the privateers and placed in the middle of town. Relief came when Lt. Governor Hammond dispatched from Halifax 3 ships under the command of Captain Douglas of the HMS Chatham, one of which had 200 Hessian soldiers aboard. Captain Stoddard began the retreat. Despite not having received a ransom, Captain Stoddard released Colonel Creighton and the other prisoners after they arrived in Boston. Sylvia, an African slave working for Creighton, was a significant part of Lundberg's resistance to the raid. She assisted in supplying munitions to Creighton at the blockhouse and sheltered his son. And after being released from being captured by Stoddard, she also protected the home and possessions of Major Jesson. Fiction. Jan Andrews' The Dancing Sun, A Celebration of Canadian Children, 1981. Joyce Birkhouse, The Heroine of Lunenburg, with illustrations by Peter Ferguson. Bibliography. Des Brizzy, Mather Biles. History of the County of Lunenburg. Eastman, Ralph M. Captain Noah Stoddard in Some Famous Privateers of New England. 1928. pp. 61-63. Gwynn, Julian. Frigates and Foremasts. The North American Squadron in Nova Scotia Waters, 1745-1815. University of British Columbia Press. 2003 ISBN 0774809116. McMechen, Archibald, The Sack of Lunenburg in Sagas of the Sea. The Temple Press, pp. 57-72. Invasion of Lunenburg in Acadie and the Acadians. Primary documents: The Boston Gazette, and The Country Journal, Monday, July 15, 1782. The Massachusetts Spy, or American Oracle of Liberty, Worcester, Thursday, July 25, 1782. The Continental Journal, Boston, Thursday, July 18, 1782. Joseph Panett to Franklin. Letter, dated at La Have, July 3, 1782. Reprinted in Des Brizzy, Mather Biles. History of the County of Lunenburg. Toronto. Wesley Briggs, 1895, 65-67.